Hi, this is Alethea with Farm View Creators. Today, let's work on the Autumn Scarecrow Mini Signs from the Rust Covered Cottage by Christina. So I'm going to go ahead and put the pieces on my sticky board. I am sorting them based on what color I think that I'm going to paint them for the most part. I do sometimes change my mind, and that's okay. But I'm going to get all those pieces on my sticky board until I just have the backboards. Lots of fun little cute pieces in this one. I love all the cute crows. So I've got all those stuck together, and then I'm going to go in with Buttercream chalk style paint from Paint Couture, and I'm going to hit that first fall backboard out of the four. I'm just trying to get a thin layer. And then I'm also going to paint the big pumpkin backboard in that buttercream. I love the Paint Couture paints because they really go on so smoothly, especially when you paint with the grain. And on the next two, I'm going to go in with a very light green. It is called Misty Fjord. I love this color as just a neutral green. It's light enough that it doesn't overpower anything that you put on it, yet it does have some color and richness. Giving all that a good dry before I go in with my second coat. And I had a little clump because my buttercream is getting down to its last little bits. But on the second coat, I tend to go a little thicker than the first. I'm really trying to even it out and get that full coverage. And then going in with the Misty Fjord and getting that second coat. Gonna give that a really good dry. And then on one of the backgrounds, I'm going to go in with my buttercream, and I am using the end of a small paintbrush and adding polka dots. The key to this is to try to make triangles with your dots. I am not the best at staying even, but that's okay. And I just I could see the score line, so I didn't try to cover the whole board. I just covered the part that you would see. I'm going to set those aside and let them dry some more. And I'm going to get started on the cute little pieces. I'm going to use Spanish Sunrise on the sunflowers and the scarecrow's straw hair. I really like this yellow. I'm not a huge fan of yellow, but this one I love. I just love that muted yellow look. And then I'm going to go in with one of the Paint Couture glazes. This is light brown sugar, and it is exactly what it says. It's very light. So I went in and immediately put 2 coats on. And then for the basket, I decided I wanted to switch it up and use the Glaze Amber Honey, which is a little deeper. And on one of the cross slats for the basket, it was a little darker, so I did kind of wipe it back a little bit with my wipe. And then I'm hitting the buttons with a 3rd coat of that brown sugar. And then I'm going to go in on my leaves with Basil. This is a mineral acrylic paint from Paint Couture. And then I'm using a new paint that I just got and I'm loving. It is a Luxe Metallic called Black Pearl. And it is a nice rich black, and it just has a very nice shimmer. Did accidentally paint one of the crow's beaks, so I wiped that back. And then on the pumpkins, I am going to use Vintage Moss is my darker green color, and Autumn Sage is my lighter green. the Autumn Sage is a paint, a chalk style paint, and the moss is a mineral acrylic. I like both styles of paints. I feel like the chalk style may dry a little bit faster, which makes sense. But they're both very rich and they both give good full coverage. So I'm going to go in on my Scarecrow, and his hat is going to be Firelight. This is another mineral acrylic. And I'm going to go ahead and hit those fall letters. I did do the autumn word in the vintage moss. And I'm hitting the stems of the pumpkins with the amber honey glaze. I'm going to get the Scarecrow's face with that chalk style buttercream. And I'm just trying to really make sure that I have it even, because I'm not going to put another layer on this. So I was really trying to make sure I didn't have any streak marks. And I'm going to go in and put a second layer on all of my sunflowers and the Scarecrow's hair. And then I'm going to put a second coat on the crows with that Luxe Metallic Black Pearl. And then I'm going to put some eyeballs with the end of my paintbrush on my Scarecrow. And then go ahead and put a second coat of that Autumn Sage chalk style paint. I'm getting the Scarecrow's body with that. And a second coat of my vintage moss. I really like this vintage moss color. It reminds me of like maybe an olive green, which I'm very fond of. I'm gonna put a second coat of that Firelight. I hit the Scarecrow's nose and all the letters and his hat. And then I'm going in with that Spanish Sunrise and getting the beaks on all of the crows. I'm only going to do one layer because I laid it on pretty heavy. And then I am going to put the eyes with the buttercream on the crows. And then I'm going in and putting my little trio of accent dots on some of the pieces. I'm really trying to be mindful of where the pieces will fit together and be so that my dots will show. And I also don't want to overdo it. So I decided not to put any on the letters. And then I am going to give him a little neckerchief. And I just kind of touched down with my squared off end brush and then filled it in, giving all of that a good dry because I do not want my dots or his little neckerchief to smear. Hitting that with a second layer, and I did get a little bit on there. And then I am going in with Vera at the Ballet and a stippling brush and just hitting his cheeks so he can have a little bit of flare to him. I'm going to add some polka dots to his neckerchief with the buttercream. And then I'm going to go in with this set of acrylic pens. I like these because they have a wide variety of sizes. I am using the 1 millimeter size here. I just traced over his little eyebrows and his mouth. And I'm going to go in with my favorite Debi's DIY Dark Wax to distress the pieces. So I'm going around the edges of all of the backboards and then kind of smearing it through just to give it a little bit of an aged look. I really feel like it gives the project depth and dimension. And anytime I get too much wax, I just wipe it back with my hand. If I get way too much, I'll wipe it back with a baby wipe. I just like to dip it in the pot and then kind of rub it on the lid, and then I'll pick up more wax from that lid. I really try to hit the score lines on pieces as well. And then all around the edges of everything. And I'm really hitting the inside of that basket to draw out the weave lines. And then all over the pretty sunflowers. I keep that brush in a Ziploc baggie to keep it from drying out. And now I'm going to finish up this container of dead flat. I'm putting just a thin coat over everything. It takes out any shine and also protects the paint. It doesn't take much. I've been using that container for quite a while, but I got to break in a new one. Just getting a good, you do want full coverage, but it can be thin full coverage. Then I'm gonna give all of that a really good dry before I start assembling. And as I'm taking off the pieces, I'm kind of trying to lay them where they're going to go. Just checking to make sure that everything looks the way I want it to look. If not, it is not too late to fix or change anything. You can always sand pieces back and start fresh. So just kind of trying to place those crows where they need to go. And when I got to those sunflowers for the basket, I really should have taken the time to puzzle piece them together. You'll see later that I was on the struggle bus with those sunflowers, but it all worked out. And I'm going to go in with my art glitter glue and glue down those pieces. I love the art glitter glue because it does dry clear, but even though it has a good amount of adhesive and it does give a strong bond, you do have some wiggle room, and thank goodness you do, because I would have messed up big time if you didn't have some, because that big sunflower right there, it doesn't go on that piece. It goes on the basket. Which is why I said I should have pieced them together before I started gluing it all. But I'm just fitting those pieces together. You can still see the score lines on the backboards, so it fits together nicely. Just making sure that they are lining up with the background pieces that they're laying on top of, and then also fitting together. And there's so many layers to this kit, which really makes it exciting. Those tiny buttons, I love them so much. So that one's finished, and here we go, trying to fit this together. And that's when I had the epiphany that I had the wrong one. So it still wasn't really wanting to fit together for me. And sometimes I have learned that I just have to stop, reset, and go back. But I did realize when I was trying to put these on that I should have painted the tips of the basket cutout with the basil, because some of those are leaves that do show. So make sure you do that. So I did do that. I dried it real good, and then I put another layer of dead flat on that just to seal that basil in there. Then again, I set it aside. I was like, let me do the other one and I'll come back to it. And I love it how when you just kind of walk away from something, when you go back to it, usually it fits together much easier. So that happened this time for me. So I'm putting those fall letters in, tilting up, making sure I have them lined up the way I want them. Because again, you can wiggle it a little bit even after you place them down with that art glitter glue. It's not like super glue that once it touches down, you're pretty much done. So I'm getting all those layers, trying to decide how I want them to lay out. Those cute little buttons, I love them. Okay, so that's the third piece. And now we're back to the basket. I decided I would go ahead and just glue that basket down. One less thing to worry about. Figure out where I wanted my crow. And then I am going to really study these pieces and figure out how they line up on the basket piece first. And then piece them together. So I figured out where exactly that one piece went, and I was like, okay, I'm sticking it down. So then I found the other two, and I just kind of shifted it aside but did not rotate it at all. And then I was able to piece it together fairly quickly. And there you go. So much easier. But definitely fit your pieces together and know how they go before you put glue on them. And I love how it turned out, even though it was a pain. And there it is in the beaded frame. And then in the trio shutter frame. I love both of these. Can't wait to display them. And I hope you love them too. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.